Lately, in the community colleges and quite possibly in the universities as well, we've all been hit over the head with the development and assessment of SLOs, or student learning outcomes. We've been creating objectives since we could say the word teach, and we're getting sick probably of hearing about all that. So we're going to ask you this week to do learning outcomes, and I think there'll be something that you actually like. These are Bloom's taxonomy items, and you've probably heard them before. There's new ones now, if you haven't seen them in a while. The language has changed just a little bit. They start at the bottom with remembering. Next is understanding, and as you go up, it's applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. This is an image of Bloom's digital taxonomy, which is taking those items, if you're using them in outcomes, and you're saying that someone is going to remember something, for example. Then remembering might be recognizing, listing, describing, identifying, retrieving, naming, locating, finding. But in digital, it's also, if you want someone to remember or understand something, you're probably going to be having them read or listen or watch something that gives them that content. As you move up the scale to analyzing, for example, you may want them to do other things like working in groups and using tools to collect research, and as they evaluate, they might use other things like spreadsheets and whatnot to take a look at what kind of data they're collecting. And as they may move up to creating, then they probably would be creating their own videos, their own presentations, and so forth. So if you take a look at Bloom's taxonomy and you start putting in the digital tools that would allow you to reach them, you come up with something like this. I love this image, which is a triangle that the bottom level of remembering has a variety of different tools that can be used to help people remember things. For example, Flickr, or the tool I'm using right now, which allows you to do a video lecture, and this is Screencast-O-Matic. And as you move up, for example, to analyzing, you may have them using something else like a wiki or a spreadsheet or something like that. And certainly as they go up to evaluating, they might be creating rubrics themselves or creating YouTube videos. And as they move up, they'll create even more. And as you take a look at this, think about what are the low levels, which is delivering content, and then the upper levels, which is having them create using digital tools. Here's an example. If we want the outcome of a multimedia class to be that students will understand the various uses of file formats, what they're going to do that is view a video lecture discussing and showing file formats. And how we're going to evaluate their ability to understand file formats is to give them a quiz that tests to see if they actually learned what the differences were. If they're going to create, then students would create images. The outcome would be students will create images in the proper format. What they do is in Photoshop, the students would create images for use on the web, use in print, and use for a flash object. That's 3 different types. And then the evaluation would be that they would post 3 images on their blog with a written rationale for each. As we move up the scale, we end up with outcomes for analyze as the piece that we want the students to do. And students will be able, this is the outcome, students will be able to analyze a client's need for images and their uses. What they will do in order to be able to analyze that is in groups of 3, students will analyze a business scenario and determine which types of files are needed. You present the business scenario to the students in a video or in a Word file or something like that. And then the student group will use the wiki to present a proposal for the client with the appropriate image products. And that would be how you would analyze whether, evaluate whether they have analyzed or not. So I think if we had all started with real learning outcomes when we were designing our face-to-face class, and maybe you did without really writing those things down or codifying those in some way, but if we had started with those, then learning outcomes would have made more sense and they would have been more natural, and you wouldn't be trying to apply outcomes to something that you're already teaching in a way that you've done for years. As you build an online class, though, you have to figure out, what is it I want students to do? What is it I give them so they understand how to do that? And then what is it that they do to show me they know how? And you have to use the tools that are available.